Reiner, welcome to Commerce Talks. Today we are talking about the chemical industry. You are producing products, or your company is producing products I'm using now for 20 years in my garage. You're a CEO of Caram, and please introduce yourself for the audience and tell us a bit more about the Caram Group.
Okay, thanks for having me here today. I'm really proud to be here. Yes, I'm the CEO of the Caram Chemicals Group, and I'm also father of twins. So this is mainly my two main occupations right now. And Caram Chemicals Group today is about two companies, actually. One company is the well-known Caram brand, which, as you said, is known for its multi-oils, its various kinds of products for cleaning and maintenance, specifically in the aftermarket car market. The other company in our group is the not that well known to consumers company called Kent. Kent is very well known in professional applications, also for the automotive aftermarket, and is mainly doing business only in the B2B business.
So, and I guess we have many car enthusiasts amongst our podcast listeners. And if I remember correctly, the last time I bought a Caram product in the brick and mortar environment, it was RTU. A well-known garage chain in Germany, or it was the Baumarkt, the DIY store. Is this like from an end user perspective? Are these the main channels where we are getting in contact with your products?
Actually, yes, it is, because the consumer products, like you were mentioning, these kind of cleaning products or these kind of multi-oils, these kind of lubricants are mainly sold through these traditional channels. We recently started doing some business on Amazon. We made quite some success there, but specifically for the consumer channel, we're using Amazon right now. We have not introduced any e-commerce capabilities into ourselves, and we have to know that Caram actually is far more than the well-known consumer business. The consumer business is what you and other consumers know, and it's a very traditional German brand which is already existing for about 120 years. So Caram was founded in 1903 and has made its steps and its developments mainly around the consumer market. In the last 20 years, the company has been changed a lot, and the company is now very much focused on several other areas. So our cleaning and maintenance products are also found, for example, in car wash. We are a leading supplier of car wash chemicals. So everything you get on your car when it's going into a car wash channel or street, as we call them, or in a portal, lots of these products are coming from Caram. So the wax, the additives, the dry cleaner, and of course the shampoo and the cleaners are also made by Caram. You don't see these products, but you recognize them quite often, delivering great quality. So only a little part of the business is actually our consumer business, which today is less than 10% of what we do in business is in the B2C channel.
Less than 10% is B2C. Okay, but the brand is well known. But on the B2B channels, you're not pushing your brand through, correct? So I don't remember seeing like a car wash facility with a Caram brand on it. So Caram powered by Caram could be like a marketing claim there.
Excellent idea, and we would actually really we do this occasionally, but I would think that less than 2% of our customers today actively promote the Caram brand. So this is really the exception. Most of our clients there are extremely traditional. So this is a very, very traditional business in the car wash business. And the surprisingly is that the majority of our today's business is really private label. So you also find lots of our cleaning products, of our windshield cleaning products, additives we do. We are a strong supplier of AdBlue additives. We are also supplying lots of automotive OEMs under their label. So about 60% of the business we do today is private label. The other 40 is then branded business, and of the branded is a significant part is the wash business. Using co-branding in wash is one of the best things we actually can do, but it really depends a lot on our client. So only a few ones are actively using this. Some do, and some do very well. Some others don't. So what we haven't managed in the recent years actually to cross or to benefit in the wash business from our brand strengths we have, for example, with the consumer business. So we have not yet utilized this.
And I think there's like a tremendous opportunity because if usually every car owner can select between different like car washing facilities, and sometimes they're differentiating by price, or they have this voucher codes on a weekly basis, so you get the best wash for 30% off, and that's definitely something where let's say an umbrella brand could help to connect the dots, because I want to have all the same lubricants on my car, maybe because I'm a car enthusiast, and I can find then in Hamburg, in Kiel, in Berlin, in Frankfurt, always like the same washing facility. But before we are going into the channels in too much detail, maybe let's get to the bird's eye view and try to understand the market. So Caram is like quite big in this niche, but how big is this niche in total? So is it a growing niche? Are there more car owners? Are there more washing entities per car per year? So what is kind of driving your market?
That's an excellent question, because when we basically look at our total market, which is also part of the automotive aftermarket, then in total the automotive aftermarket is huge. The actual market in Europe is about $250 billion, and despite COVID, we actually expecting this market to get back on a compound growth rate of about 3% over the next couple of years. So we expect this market to grow up to $380 billion. So our automotive areas are very much focused on chemicals. So chemicals actually represent maybe about 5% of this total market. So then you bring it down to still about a couple of billion addressable market we see across Europe. So this is leaving lots of room for growth. However, the automotive market is under tremendous change. So look at the change of, let's say, engines. You know, we were all not believing that e-cars would grab such a significant share of market within that short time as they are doing right now. When we talk to all our major clients in the automotive industry, if they have any chips available, they build an electric car, even the German ones. Next thing is they build the most expensive gasoline car, and only then they build any other, let's say, combustion engines car. So the strong focus and the strong change of the engine in cars has a significant, let's say, impact on these developments in our market.
So would you say the more Tesla drivers we have, the more ID3, ID4 we see in the streets, the smaller is your market?
Actually, only in some segments. So let's say segments that are really focusing on the combustion engine, of course, will have a tremendous change. They will just be disappearing. Yeah. They will just be gone
because we don't need an oil change with an electromotor.
You don't need to change oil. You know, you don't need any additives like we do right now to, let's say, improve the quality of engine behavior, or the improvement of, let's say, gearboxes are also changing. You know, even brake parts are changing because brakes are far less used than they are used in traditional combustion engine-based cars. So lots of things are changing at the same time, and this is also reason for our strategic positioning is that whatever is driving your car, you know, be it gas, be it diesel, be it electricity, be it kind of whatever thing it's driving your car, it's going to be washed. People will still maintain their car, and the car still will be washed. And other segments, for example, will maybe, let's say, get under pressure also with the different use of cars. You know, we all know that within the next 5 to 10 years, for example, cars will more be used instead of owned. It will happen. We will still own a car we like, you know, but take, for example, a car like a Smart. That's not a car somebody wants to own. That's maybe a car you want to use for a couple of minutes or hours, and then you give it back. You don't want to buy this car. You don't want to own this car. You want to own a 911, but you don't want to have this car. So these changes will be more cars will be used. If cars will be used more, cleanliness internally and also externally of these cars will become more important than they are today. You often see people treating their own car far less good as they would expect a rental car to come. We all complain heavily if Sixt give us a car that's dirty. Our own car can be for a certain time. So this is also driving significant growth in all these areas of smart repair. E-mobility will drive, let's say, also growth of, let's say, sound dampening. You're getting more aware on bad sounds like you do in a car, which makes its own noise. If I'm driving a hybrid, if this is going in E mode, I suddenly hear things that I normally don't hear. So there are many, many areas that will grow in the traditional market. However, most growth in the automotive industry will come from digital growth on the digitalization of cars, for example. Cybersecurity will be growth factor number one in the automotive industry, because it's not going to be fun if somebody going to hack your car. It's pretty dangerous. It's as dangerous and as frightening as we can see with some other development of things getting hacked. But if a car gets hacked, and this is certainly not a huge problem for somebody with the right knowledge, this is going to create serious trouble. But lots of growth in this market for the next coming years.
And let's maybe focus for a couple of minutes on the 10% direct to consumer share. So ATU, Hornbach, Bauhaus, and other channels in Germany are selling those products. What I can see on your website and what I would understand if I'm searching for those products is there's like far more products today available than there were like 20 years ago. So like it feels like even different colors of car do request like different products. So it becomes way more segmented, which is usually not the home turf of the brick and mortar channels, because they focus on, let's say, 3 meters of shelf Caram products or lubricants or cleaning products, and you have to go with whatever they provide. And within this online channels, and you just mentioned Amazon, where I can find a wide range of Caram products. You obviously you don't need to pick the lubricant or the cleaning wax for a yellow car. You can pick the one for your color, right? For your 911, or maybe there's even a special paint on your Porsche or on your old Mercedes that needs special treatment. That is usually something where brick and mortar channels are not performing really well. So how do you see this development?
I fully agree. I found it always one of the core advantages of online channels, and this is not often mentioned, but it actually is, that they could always, let's say, be far better on the long tail. That was one of the strengths I always found with Amazon and also with other suppliers, that you really had choice. When you get into a shop, your choice is naturally be limited, because they have no storage, and they have, let's say, the rental cost and so on. So everything they put in there must be fast movers or not. So all the long tail could not be really taken care for. And most of the companies I used to work for, who actually were based on this traditional model, they were always trying to reduce long tail. They were always trying to have SKU reductions and product reductions to get rid of long tail. And Amazon changed this by radically focusing on the long tail. You get everything here. So that's one of their strengths and one of the things that really made them big, that this choice was there. For us in traditional channel, it's not such a matter of, let's say, getting more individual products in there. I think that's not going to happen. Otherwise, you have to, let's say, spend too much on this. Every product you get into these channels, everything you get on the shelves is actually be paid for. Somehow you pay for this. This is traditional channel business. It's also happening within Amazon, but on a different level, on a different kind of what you pay for, and you get far better payback for your investments in the online channels. So if I spend $1, I know very, very more precisely what I get back there in an online channel than I do with traditional channels. That's one of the big changes, let's say, also for suppliers of products. So that's why we are looking into it. We actually have not been very much focusing on this segment in the last couple of years. So this is one of the areas where we will certainly have some significant room for improvements over the next 24 months. So one is actually brand awareness, which is not happening very much recently, with our strong focus on B2B business and other businesses, and our strong focus on internal improvement. And the other one is actually to find new routes to market with our consumer products. Because I think you're right. So the future is not going to be the do-it-yourself channels only, and specifically not the do-it-yourself channels that are fully based on bricks. There are new do-it-yourself channels, very, very attractive ones, which actually start to sell the product, and these are the ones we're going to, let's say, look more after in the future than we did before.
Yeah, I get it. But if I should argue, like from a brick and mortar store, I would say, okay, you have a very good relation to the brick and mortar stores, to the do-it-yourself channels. Therefore, you control this kind of 1 meter shelf space with the Caram products. In Amazon and other online channels, it's much harder to do. I would guess that many companies just try to replicate your product and say that's the best product for your combustion engine, or that's the best oil for anti-rust, for example. And then you're kind of on a bidding war. You have to bid like for your products and for the keywords on Amazon, though your products are showing up. If you're not bidding, then immediately competitor products will show up that might look the same, because if you go to Amazon today, it all looks kind of the same. They try to even replicate the Caram brand, or WD-40, which is also very popular in this area. They all try to replicate it. There's a lot of fake reviews on it, and like especially in the B2C environment, where you only buy such a thing maybe once a year, like even less on the frequency side. That's kind of tough to manage. So would you agree?
I fully agree. I'm always surprised that whatever I search on Amazon for, I get something else. Meanwhile, I think it really looks like it's part of the business model that you get something differently. But I'm doing this now quite for a while, and channel always is asking and very creative in collecting soft margin. All channels are extremely creative, and they had been in the early 2000s, and then there were these large computer distributors. Now it's different companies. So, channel is actually always demanding extra soft margin, how we call it. So you can name it whatever Eckhard said, you can name it soft benefits, you can name it contribution to their expense, and. And also Amazon is having a similar model where they have their base margin and then all the other steps. So the magic thing is, in the end, you got to find out what actually turns off to work for you and what not. Sometimes you just got to pay channel. Sometimes you have to pay channel because they have their different methods of collecting things, and sometimes you must make a choice where you actually put the money into. So you can also, let's say, put your marketing money into the end user marketing, and then you actually create something like, again, on a brand level. If somebody is looking for WD-40 specifically because of some choice, he's going to find it, and he's going to also scroll further down in Amazon when you have find your product. The same is happening with Caram. Still, product itself is important. Even if there are fake reviews, even if there are many other things, product quality remains highly important. We have one product in the Amazon listing which became, by pure natural, real, actual, realistic reviews, #1 seller in this category. So product is important in this area as well. So product is important. Keep your things in there. And the brick and mortar channel, is also not going to be loyal to you. If somebody else comes and pays more for the end cap, somebody else gets the end cap. So this is not a different game. It's just different players, but basically it's going to be the same game. It requires also different skill sets. People who were good in selling before, selling into the brick and mortar channel, pushing products in there, might not people you need in the future who understand actually how to actually deal with Amazon. So the skill sets for your sales people, whatever they are doing in your sales environment, are going to change radically, and already have changed over the last few years. I'm now talking to people who are completely different than the ones we were talking 15 years ago. to. That's actually something you have to learn in management, that you are changing very much in the people you talk to who actually facilitate sales. So that's the same thing, but it's also, again, different people there.
Sometimes we have guests here with a fashion industry background, and when we are talking about online channels, then Amazon is usually like not so important. We are rather talking about like Zalando or About You or ASOS. In your industry, is it only Amazon, or might Mano Mano be an alternative, or Otto or other platforms, or Cyberport, for example, or the Böttcher AG, who was a guest here a couple of episodes ago, and I would guess there are a couple of Caramba products they offer. I will search in a minute, but from a channel perspective, from a pure wholesale channel perspective, apart from Amazon, what other channels are important for you?
We have one or two other channel players who we actually do not serve directly. So Amazon is basically the online channel where we have direct relationships to. The other ones we are actually serving through our traditional distributors. So it's mainly our classic distributors who have the link to other online channels, and we quite often actually don't see where they sell to. We see products popping up, then after a while somebody comes knocking on our door asking for advertising contribution, who we actually did not know that he was actually selling our product. So this is still an intransparent area for us, which we have not really handled very well in the last years. So our focus, Amazon, the others not all very, very, very well known, but we know that the Caramba brand is quite widely distributed. I think there will be other channels also being interested, like you mentioned. If somebody is in an office environment, there's always somebody in an office who is facilitating this office, who is actually taking care for this office. So these channels will need also part of our product. Yeah, absolutely. And Böttcher is an interesting one, because he is really an extremely good example how you can actually grow in a market where all others had been dying. I was actually working in the same industry. I worked a couple of years for Office Depot. And Office Depot completely got it all messed up, completely killed, and somebody small started a new business in the same market with the same things and actually made it a wonderful, prosperous, and profitable business just by doing something slightly different.
Yeah, and there was no magic around, so it was posted on the Kassenzone podcast channel in early April, and it was very interesting that they could grow up to 600 million in revenue. But you just mentioned like distributors that are like handling the interface between you and some of the platforms. And my understanding of distributors is that they had their role in industries that are like super nitty gritty, where you have like lots of stuff on the logistics side to solve, or where it's not possible to solve from a vendor/manufacturer perspective. In the pure digital world, that is kind of a function that is moving into the manufacturer side. So when it comes to online distribution or distribution towards online channels, there's less likely a need in the future for distributors. Do you see this the same way, or do you have a different view here?
I have a slightly different view, because our experience is that the demands online channels have onto logistics is extremely difficult to fulfill. So as an example, to supply to Amazon is a nightmare. Really, it is. It is. In the end, it's a great business. Actually, also if they ship. If you don't ship yourself, so if you let them do everything, it's a really pretty cool business where you have some advantages, and this is really, you can calculate things. I like this I like these ways of sales where you actually are able to calculate things, where you reduce the non-tangible factors like the human being, which is traditionally in direct sales, as we are doing a lot. You always have the human being, and this is always a factor you cannot calculate as good as you can calculate other things, like what you spend on advertising, what you spend on clicks, and so on. It's easier to calculate, so more predictable. But some things they demand also on the distribution side are really extreme, really very, very extreme. So with regards to labeling, with packaging, with testing and so on, extremely high level of requirements, higher than the Aldis, higher than many other channels who already have quite high demands. So to fulfill this, you sometimes may need a specialist. So some distribution specialists who actually can fulfill these things by you just supplying a product can be very beneficial. So there is still a room for, let's say, value-adding distributors. For pure box movers who can do nothing else, you don't need them, because then you directly go to those who actually move the end boxes. But the original idea of, let's say, wholesale distributors also was to break bulk into boxes, for example, to actually do a service level. If they don't add service, or if they don't add sales, or if they are not specific to, let's say, some vertical industry, they will disappear. But if they are, then they will find their way also, let's say, to have a good kind of value there. I'll give you another example. A company we work with together is also Leckerland. Leckerland is quite interesting. You always see their trucks, and you're not always sure what they do. And they supply thousands of gas stations with all the products where the gas stations make their money. All the Snickers come from them. Part of our products come from them. That's also always distributed by Leckerland. And their trucks with the symbol, and the white trucks with the red symbol, and so on. That's an excellent example of, let's say, adding value to just shipping goods. So these kind of, let's say, service suppliers will have a great market, I think, in the future.
Okay, and regardless of the future of the gas stations, which is a bit shaky, it totally makes sense that that you won't supply Caramba products directly to the gas station. So that would definitely destroy your supply chain management. Okay, I understand that, but you're now in a situation where you have to look into like e-commerce, like direct to consumer, B2B e-commerce, and you're coming now out of a very successful company. Maybe you can shed some light on the Corona effects in this business, because I would assume that people washed even more cars during Corona, but maybe I'm wrong. But how do you bring the company toward thinking in the direction, having more direct-to-consumer touch points, having more operations on their side, so which is very different from the wholesale operation? You need customer success, you need B2C logistics, you need the whole payment thing might be integrated in your operation. So how do you do that? Before answering that question, maybe give us a 5-minute Corona update. Really interesting how this impacted your business.
Well, this was very, very different on various levels of the business and on various segments of the business. For example, in the Caramba world, in the Caramba business unit, they had a fantastic year within the COVID year. Unfortunately, you have to say, because fortunately enough, Caramba was capable of switching production extremely quickly onto producing disinfectants. So within a couple of weeks, we changed lots of the production facilities we have into producing compliant, ready disinfectants. And this was a time when actually disinfectant was, let's say, a good that was extremely desired. So we had acquired a few large contracts, public contracts, other contracts on, let's say, profitable margins, on good business, and we were really, really very fast. So the people within Caramba have been extremely fast, extremely good in reaction in operations to actually fulfill this. So we shipped millions of liters of disinfectant. From a society point of view and from, let's say, a human point of view, fortunately enough, this came to a really brutal halt when all this disinfectant wasn't used anymore and wasn't needed anymore. So the last tons, the last 50 pallets full of disinfectant, I actually gave as a donation to the Ukraine Red Cross, to help the people there, because we actually were not selling this year disinfectant anymore. But at the last years, this was very, very beneficial in boosting Caramba top line and also results. In Kent, the development had been, let's say, different. In Kent, the development was really like the Kent business, which is 99% traditionally driven by selling on-site. On-site at the customer, salesperson goes there, sells there. This was completely halted at the time when we actually had been in lockdown. So then sales had to be changed tremendously quick onto other methods, onto other ways of selling. So people then had to call. Suddenly people who were used like 20 years in direct sales on the street, they now had to start using the telephone. They now had to start using Teams. Like many other companies had the same challenge. So Kent came out of this pretty strong, pretty good, but the first months had been a tremendous, let's say, way of change, really difficult change for the people there who were not used to this. They made this over time, and nowadays they actually are using a more like a system where they also go outside and visit clients, but they also use days and times for telephone. So they learned from this. What we all missed terribly in this time was that we have zero e-commerce capabilities. You cannot even place a single order to us as a client in both companies, not in Caramba and not in Kent. In Kent, we have started our way going into a digital solution, finding an e-commerce solution within the next couple of months. We have, let's say, selected partners we want to grow with. We have selected, or we have, let's say, identified, we have made a shortlist. So we did all the work before to get ready there and to start this. And the core challenge there for us will be not the technology. It will be actually combine direct sales with online sales to make this coexisting, to actually make this benefiting from each other and not to be in a competitive situation. We don't want to have competitive scenarios inside. Maybe a bit, but not too much. So, and in Caramba, we are extremely early on our, let's say, path into a digital world. We are really old. We are beyond stone, but we are not far beyond this age. We are really having lots, let's say, of possibilities if we want to start getting into a digital world. So like having more direct access to customers, having more interaction, learning more from customers. Also, all the other benefits you get beyond, let's say, more reach and lower cost. You reduce not only transactional cost, or you may be reducing your acquisition cost, but you also get insights, which is one of the best things you also get from, let's say, having direct contacts, which you can have far better through e-commerce than for many, many other things. So lots of potential, but very early in the stage.
But did it help, like from a transformation point of view, to drive understanding of the role of e-commerce inside of the company? So when people really realized, okay, we have too few channels actually where people can contact us via an online platform, app, EDI, whatever. So did it help from a transformational standpoint?
Yeah, it helped a lot in the Kent part of the business, which is the professional business. There it helped a lot that also people get ready for this, because also salespeople understood, if you don't see your client and the only way for your client is to place an order for you and you can't see him, you're getting in trouble, seriously in trouble, and you have to change something there. So they started to expect e-commerce to come as something that is beneficial to them and not a threat to them. That's there and that's ready, and there we are ready to roll out. We will do this in the next couple of months, make the choice, roll it out. In Caramba, it's different. With our large automotive OEM clients, we have highly integrated EDI solutions. So that's not kind of e-commerce. That's basically sending text files. That's very. The EDI is maybe as old as computers are, and you send a basic text file and you add something to it, but it's not, let's say, e-commerce. It's just like an order and ordering and supply chains kind of system. So not really e-commerce. But that's very, very common with our large clients. All do this, all there is ready. In the rest of the Caramba world, we had been really struggling to get an idea on how we actually will handle this, how we actually want to do this. We are still not fully clear on what's going to be the next steps there. How do you really get, for example, benefits of ordering online if you still need to acquire your client completely on site? That's a very, very important question for us. I don't believe that just turning orders into electronic orders is adding enough value. So we actually need to find areas where we can add value to our clients' business and not just create, put the order into a computer is not really adding value. That's not a radical change, that would add value, For our clients, it's very convenient if somebody comes up, picks up the order and checks the remaining boxes on the shelf and then it gets chipped. So how do we add value to this? In this business we do at the Caram is not as easy as it is in many other businesses. So and just doing digital for the digitalization would not really benefit the company. It also doesn't benefit the client. So here we have to do more research and we have to learn more about this. I would think that not necessarily specifically in the B2B business, a solution we do by ourselves would be enough. I would actually expect that it would starting to add benefit if the client would also, let's say, have access to other parts of his processes and not just to Caram products. Setting up all this for just ordering Caram might not really add benefit to the client. We may have to, let's say, look beyond this, look at platforms, look at cooperations with others and so on. But just right now, open up a Caram shop, maybe a bit for consumer, but maybe not necessarily changing the game.
That's true. I highly agree. So if you're looking forward to 2022, 2023, and 2022, so what are the next big steps from your point of view? Is it like really helping your team to understand and to learn what's going on, finding the right entry point? Could be also something where you say, let's scale our Amazon team. Let's be the best lubricant oil seller on this platform. Let's skip maybe D2C. What's kind of the next steps from your point of view?
For Caram, the last 9 months since I had been appointed to the CEO role of the group was really focusing on developing a strategy that actually is really finding the right focus. For us, we had 7 areas of business. So it's not only consumer, it's not only car wash, it's also private label OEM, it's also industry business, it's many other businesses. Some of them had been extremely small, some of them had been not profitable, some of them had been. So for us, it was really to find the right focus and also how to set up the company. That's what we have been doing. So now, as we know this, and also over the last 2 years, we had been very, very active in restructuring some areas. We call this actually a full potential execution. Mainly it was related to cost reductions. So really putting the company on a more stable base. We did this. Now the good thing is now we can start doing the fun things, because actually we have done the homework. Now we can start to grow. So the key for Caram future, also which had been approved by the advisory board, is really focus on some selected growth initiatives. One of these growth initiatives is that we actually focus our growth very, very much on the area of car wash. We have pretty good market information. We know this market well, and we have leading product. A couple of things actually give us some good reasons. The market is growing, although the automotive market isn't changed. The market will stay. The market is growing. We know what we do there. We have excellent own R&D. So I grew up in product. I was a product manager as my first profession, and I still believe in product. Good product makes a difference. You can do lots of things wrong when you have good product. You can also help bad products to perform better with many other good things doing well. But if you have good product, it's a very, very good base, and your customers usually honor this. You can have crappy operations; they forgive you if you repair and so on. If you have good product. That's part of the things, how things go. So we have good product. We are very, very responsive to changes. For example, we address these things like environmental requirements more and more in the car wash industry. We have recently introduced something completely different for car wash that actually helps our clients to save water. So these things are really innovative. So we are strong and innovative in wash. But we had to set up a clear strategy. We do wash. We don't do this, we don't do that, we do mobility wash. Mobility wash means cars, trucks, trains, planes perhaps, everything that is moving, and also new kind of things that are moving, like scooters and so on. All these things got to be washed. And we are going to focus onto this. So this is the thing I'm very much looking forward to say, really, we have a clear focus, we have a clear target where we want to go. We know we want to double our business by 2026 in wash and double our market share there. And we don't want to do this by purely acquiring others. We want to do this by ourselves. So changing wash and changing the paradigm of wash is the core thing. That's going to be fun as well.
Yeah, I think it's a good claim. So we are washing everything that moves. So it's definitely something people can remember, and it's much more than just some lubricants and rust solutions or anti-rust solutions. Yeah, super interesting. So I definitely like to follow up with you when the first steps in direct to consumer are done. When like the next part of the learning curve is done, I highly support the idea of having a Caramba supported by Caramba Klein at the car wash facilities. I think that will definitely help you, the car wash facilities, and the car owners. Reiner, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here. It was a pleasure. Thanks.